Welcome back to another SCBWI Featured Illustrator interview. My name is Tamika Grooms, and I'm the Design and Illustration Manager for SCBWI. Every month, we select an Illustrator member to spotlight on the SCBWI website and social media pages to highlight the work that they're doing in the children's illustration market. This month's featured illustrator is Gabbie Benda. Gabby, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hi, Tamika. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored that I was chosen this month, and I'm just so excited to talk to you a little more about my work.
Mhm. So you submitted work to us a few months ago, and I'm really happy that we were able to plug you into this season because this is the season for camping and all things outdoors. And I think your artwork is perfect for what this season actually holds. So I really want to start by talking about that first and pulling up the image on the screen for everyone to see. Gabby, can you tell us a little bit about this image first? And then I want to go back and share some of the sketches that you sent to me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a piece that I actually drew last summer. Um, and I'm from Hagerstown, Maryland, which is kind of like the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So when I was drawing this piece, I grew up like 5 minutes away from a trailhead for the Appalachian Trail. So I was really just thinking about those, super hot summer days where everything's just like alive and critters are just moving around. And so I kind of wanted to capture that excitement and that summer feeling. And the original version of this image, it was like a scavenger hunt drawing. So, there's a little key and it says, oh, can you find the pawpaw tree? Can you find the possums? Can you find the pokeweed? And I tried to make them all like a regional, flora and fauna to the region that I'm from. So.
Mhm. Perfect. And there's so much for children and families whomever is looking at the artwork. There's so much for you to kind of look at, even though the image is vast and it's a really well composed piece of art. But there's so many little details like the possums on top of the mommy possum, and I'm not sure with the mushrooms that are growing on the tree and the big fly and the firefly. It's all the things. So it's so much to look at, and it's a really interesting piece of art.
Well, thank
Thank
you so much. That means a lot to me.
you. So let's hop over to your artwork that you sent, your sketches, so that we can show people what your process is as you get into your final art. So this is the first sketch. Tell us about your process and how you approach a piece of art when you're working on it.
So, this at this point in the drawing, I'm just sort of trying to figure out where everything needs to belong in the space. I'm kind of when I'm drawing just for myself, I tend to do this bad habit where like you'll see in the bottom right, I've just written pokeweed. I haven't drawn any pokeweed at all, but I just know that I'm going to put a pokeweed there eventually. And so, especially with this, like, can you find them all scavenger hunt drawing? I was just like, oh, I know, this is kind of a cheat sheet, I guess. Like the thistle's there, the cicada's there. But I'm really just using like a big, looser brush. I mean, I'm working digitally, but I'm not so focused in on like the tiny little details. Like the one, the characters are very simple. The dog like doesn't even have feet. Um, I'm just trying to make sure that everything fits the way I want it to, I guess, in this portion.
Yeah. And how long does it take you to do a sketch like this?
Not very long. I've always been told that I'm kind of a fast worker throughout the whole process. I would say this takes me like an hour.
Okay. Okay. And that's still a little bit of time when you think about it, because it's not so much the sketch that you're putting time into, it's the composition and the thought behind it. And I'm sure maybe you rearranged some things or rethought some things, even though you placed it onto this final rough sketch.
Definitely. And I know with myself as an artist, I take a long time thinking about a piece before I actually hit the page or hit the screen at all. Like I'll think about a piece for a couple of days. I'll kind of toss it around in my head. And so by the time I get to this point where I'm actually confident enough to draw something, yeah, I know the general idea of what I want, but then I do a lot of like moving things around and kind of just like a puzzling it all together.
Mhm. Problem solving. All right,
Yes.
so let's take a look at this one now. Now this is tighter. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this is my inking. Um, so there is like a little bit of process between the first image you saw and this. So I mean, some parts I do just go straight from that really loose, almost thumbnail-y sketch. I'll go right in and just start inking. But then there are parts like the pokeweed where I'll go in with a second tighter sketch underneath, um, to try to just figure out those forms because I really struggled with that. I was pleased with how it looked at the end, but I had a hard time drawing all those little like berry nodules and leaves. Um, but yeah, I really do love the inking process because I'm a big fan of lots of little lines, just to create like texture and rhythm. And I think that you could see a lot of that in this piece.
Absolutely. So do you have 1,000 layers in your drawings or maybe just a few?
It's a lot usually.
Yeah.
Well, my inking is all on one layer. Where I really lose track of things is when I start painting,
Yeah.
because I just, I'll start with the background, those mountains in the background. Like you can see, I haven't inked them at all. I just went in, with color for that, and then the background bushes, and then the bushes that are a little more in the foreground, and I get really lost in the weeds of layers. But then I tend to go back and reorganize and clean them up. I try to stay on top of my layers, really. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you name your layers as well?
I wish I could say I did. I do when I have to, but if I'm just drawing for me, I tend not to, and I really should.
Yeah. 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 The problems of digital drawing is, keeping control of the layers, make sure you're drawing on the right layer.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that with traditional media.
No, I do try to keep all my layers locked when I'm not using them though,
Mhm.
because, if you try to write on a locked layer, at least in Procreate, it'll say, you can't draw here, you're not using this layer. So that kind of helps me stay out of the layers I'm not supposed to be in, but it only works, I would say, half the time.
Yeah. Before we start talking about your journey, I want to go ahead and let's pop in and look at your website. So this is Gabbie Benda illustration, and her website is gabbiebenda.art, Gabbie Benda, Benda.art. And we have several pieces of illustration here. So here's we're starting with the featured art for this month. But as you scroll down, you'll see lots of other examples of illustration that she's grouped together to make it easy for art directors, agents, editors to really take a look at her art. Gabby, please feel free to share as much as you'd like to. I'm just going to start thumbing through.
Yeah, absolutely. I played around with the idea of, I've seen a lot of artists have all of their work on one page. And I do think that that's really, I mean, it's a great way to display your work, but I kind of wanted to make my website a little more accessible, like you said, to art directors, to people who are looking for something really specific. So having a page that's just kids, I feel like is great because then you can immediately show, how many kids I can draw, how many different ages I can draw, how, unique are they all, um, which I think is important. And then, I picked animals because animals is another large category for children's books and children's illustration. So I wanted to show, because I'm looking at it now, it's a lot of birds, but I wanted to show that I could draw a lot of different animals, for any projects like that as well.
Well, birds are fun. So,
So fun.
yeah, yeah. And you also have concept art here as well.
Yeah, these are some of my concept art pieces for different projects. Again, just to show that I can draw, like casts of characters, drawing characters that, I can show that I can make them all look the same
Mhm.
between drawings, which is really difficult sometimes. But
It's
yeah, I thought that was,
it's important. It's important.
yes.
I see a lot of portfolios, and one of the things I struggle with it too is just finding the consistency between characters from page to page to page. as they turn and move through space. And when you create conceptual art in these character sheets, it allows you to kind of think through that process. Like, how does that character look as it actually moves through space? So
Yeah, I find it hugely helpful. And then when I'm, working on projects, I'll take that original, character sheet or the concept art, and I reference from that, while I'm working,
hmm,
just to try to make sure I'm really, because when you start referencing from the page that you drew on before, then I always find I get into trouble because then I'm referencing a reference of a reference. You know what I mean?
hmm.
So,
Yep. And sometimes colors can change when you do that as well. So
yeah.
it's good to have the original reference available.
Hmm.
So Gabby, you have lots of different types of art on here. You also have some projects to document that, you actually, can think through the whole process of conceptual, ideas for a project, as well as getting to the final art. Lots of projects. And just stop me if you want to talk about anything that I'm clicking on.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's actually, if you click into that one, that's something I did quite recently, the hourly comic
Uh,
day.
I was going to ask you about that. I've done a 24-hour comic project with several artists before. Tell me a little bit about what this actually is, and I'm curious about if your experience was like mine.
Yeah, so this is my first time ever doing one. And I didn't put any thought. I mean, I should have. I didn't really put any thought into it at all. I woke up at 10 a.m. and I was like, I think I should just do hourly comics today. So I don't think I didn't do like, a full 12 hours. I just kind of did them as I could because I was also working that day.
Mhm.
Um, but it was really fun and an interesting challenge. So this is, kind of just me and my husband and our cats, going through our day, what we did. I think I ended up going to the library. And so it was really fun. I think at the beginning I felt stressed to like make something really fantastic and like, you know, get people's attention with how good the comics were. And I do think they came out nice, but I think once I started having a little more fun,
Mhm.
I think that they came out a little better.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
this one's my favorite. This is my two cats fighting over the identical chairs in my living room. Like they do this every night. They get in a huge fight about the chair on the left because it's the better one, but the chair on the right is right just there.
It's only better because the other cat has it.
I know. But
That's adorable. That's adorable. It's good to set those challenges up for yourself, a lot of us, we talk about artists and their habits, like drawing daily, and for some people that works, and for some people it may not, but there's other ways to kind of put disciplines, I guess I hate to use that word, but processes in place where you're creating on a regular basis. Do you have any other things that you use to kind of keep that creativity flowing?
um well, I mean, the comics challenge was really fun for that to keep, my mind moving throughout the day. But generally, I try to make sure that I always, have a sketchbook with me. Like I've got one right now. And I try to just anytime I think of an idea that might become a drawing, I don't care how sketchy it is, how incomplete of a thought it is. I try to just get it down. Um, because even if it's not anything right this second, I can come back to it and reference it at later times. Because I find, with my process as an artist, I have times where I'll have a week where I'm super creative. I feel like I'm churning out like great ideas left and right. I can't finish them fast enough. And then I'll have 2 weeks where I just sit there and I can't think of anything. So I find it really important to like take those times where I feel really productive and kind of try to stretch them out as long as they'll go. Because then those times, when I'm not feeling as creative, I can go back to what sketches I have and see. I don't have to start from the beginning. I can just see what I already have cooking and just take something to the finish line.
Yeah, yeah. And did you always want to be an artist?
I did. Yeah, I did. I've been drawing since I was very, very little. Um, and I used to always say that my life dream was to move to Japan and become a manga artist.
Mm.
So I didn't do that, but I think I got pretty close.
Yeah, yeah, you
uh,
didn't have to move to Japan.
yeah, that would have been a tough, it would have been tough to, leave everybody behind. And I don't speak Japanese. So,
Mm.
but I'm very happy with what I do now. But yes, I've always been hugely into drawing and comics, and I just don't think I could see myself doing anything else.
Okay, okay. So tell us a little bit about any, if you're able to share any projects, or if you have any past projects you'd like to talk about, please feel free to share what you can share.
Yeah. Well, I'm currently working on an unannounced graphic novel. Unfortunately, that's really all I can share about it. It's going to be a middle grade graphic novel, and I can't wait to share with people more details once I can. But I think right now that's sort of all I can say about the projects I'm working on.
Hmm. And you write as well as create the art?
Yes, I will be the author illustrator.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I'm really excited. It's a hugely new experience for me. And I used to always say like I just wanted to be the illustrator for projects. So this is my first time stepping into like an author position as well, um, which is a little nerve-wracking, but I'm really enjoying it. So
Yeah, that's great. That is great. Illustrators have a lot of stories to tell as well. So I'm glad that you're getting that opportunity.
thank you.
And what made you join SCBWI?
Well, I think I heard of it at first when I was in art school. I had a professor of mine recommend that if we were interested in children's illustration, it was a good resource. And then I graduated in 2020, and like right in the spring of 2020, right when COVID began. And I had a really hard time like finding artistic communities, I suppose. And so then I started looking for my agent. I started querying for agents, and I was really interested in a lot of the resources that SCBWI had. So I went ahead and joined, and so I got all of that amazing information. And I also found like really great communities to be a part of. So I'm in the Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia regional group. And I currently live in Northern Ohio. So I'm in the Northern Ohio group. And I have just met really, really amazing people I've met graphic novelists who are doing stuff similar to what I'm doing. And I've met kids book illustrators who are doing amazing projects. And yeah, I've never regretted it. I've really loved it.
Hmm. That is one of the great things about the organization. Like there's so much variety in terms of the creativity, and the community itself is so supportive. So like whatever direction you want to go, you know that there's going to be someone there that, will be there to help you walk the journey with you as far as they can, and then you take the rest of the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. Before we go, tell us a little bit about how people can learn more about your work or follow you online.
Absolutely. So my website that we just went through is Gabbie Benda, GABBIEBENDA.art. And so you can see all my work there, and how to get in contact with me and my agent. And then as well, I'm also on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, or I guess it's called X now. I don't know what it is now, but I'm on all of them, and my username is Patchy Sour Kids. It's like Sour Patch Kids, but you flip the patchy and the sour. Patchy Sour Kids.
Very cute. I bet I can guess what your favorite candy was.
Yeah.
Well, Gabby, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I can't wait to learn more about the work that you're producing in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Tamika, and thank you again for choosing me. And I'm just really, really honored and excited.